All right, everyone, welcome to the March 23rd meeting of the Public Works Committee. Would the Deputy Council please call the roll?
Brucey.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith will say is here. I think he's on mute.
I'm here.
Mr. Fine.
Fine's here.
Yep. Mr. Reinhardt.
Here.
Mr. Purley.
Here.
Mr. Cleary.
He's here.
Yeah, Mr. Cleary is here. Yep.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Here.
And Mr. Peter.
Here.
All present.
Thank you very much. All right, our first order of business on our short agenda today is going to be approving the previous meeting minutes.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Cleary.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Say no. All right, that's great.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Bergdorf.
I have no problem with the minutes, but I did ask Commissioner Raimondo last month when we were talking about the quiet zone in Voorheesville, if the contractor was going to hold the price for the period of delay, and she said she would get back to us, and I never heard. So I don't know if it's reflected in the minutes or not.
Mr. Bergdorf, could you repeat what that question was?
When we were talking about awarding the contracts
Yep.
for the quiet zone, there was a time period expansion. And I had asked whether or not the contractor was willing to hold his price during that contract period expansion. And you said I think you said you thought so, but you would check and let us know.
Right. So for the design and the construction inspection.
Yes.
And so they gave us a price, knowing what the time frame of the project would be, knowing that there is always some kind of an unknown with CSX and the railroads.
Right.
So yes, they are going to hold their price.
Thank you very much. That's.
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. And
Always
thank
happy to do so, Mr. Bergdorf. Second item is going to be authorizing an agreement with Atlantic Pavement Marking, Inc. regarding the striping of various county highways.
Hello, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
Yes, so the Department of Public Works is requesting the legislature's approval for a renewal agreement with Atlantic Pavement Marking in an amount not to exceed $183,770. This is 100% county money. This is the second and final renewal of this contract. The good news is that statewide is holding their prices. So this is the third and final year of our opportunity to go with this contract. And we're requesting approval to go with statewide again, or to go with Atlantic Pavement Marking again.
All right, outstanding. Any comments? We have Mr. Cleary.
If there's no comments, I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Cleary, second by Mr. Peter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. All right, thank you for moving that along. Item number 3 is authorizing an agreement with Newcastle Paving LLC for the construction of CR 252 highway improvement projects in the town of Bern and Knox.
Yes, the Department of Public Works is requesting legislature's approval to enter into an agreement with Newcastle Paving for the reconstruction of approximately 3.6 miles along Knox Cave Road in an amount not to exceed $1.598 million. This is 100% county funded. The project includes the rehabilitation of the existing pavement along Knox Cave Road, as well as resetting guide rail, replacement of existing roadway cross culverts and driveway culverts, installation of roadway striping and signs, and mitigating a site distance issue along a location called Barber's Corners along Knox Cave Road.
Outstanding. I know that we were talking about getting more bidders, and so we have 3 bidders on this project, which is great. Any questions or comments from the members? Mr. O'Brien and
I
Mr.
got a
Bergdorf?
question. Yeah.
We'll go with Mr. Smith. We never hear his voice. Look at his
sure.
voice in here first.
Oh man, perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that when we restriped that Barber's Corners, we had that accident there a few years ago, and that hit really close to home with a whole bunch of people in the hill towns.
Yes.
Can we make a note in there to have that intersection? I think they have stop on the pavement. They have flashing stop lights or something like that there.
Yes. Yep, we're going to, obviously keep all of the safety mitigations that we put into place in the last couple of years, but we're also going to lower a hill that's approaching the intersection that creates a bit of a sight distance issue. So that should really help matters.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Once again, I'd like to second what was said before earlier. The fact that I see 5 bidders here, unless some of them were not qualified. But I don't know whether this is a sign of the economic times, but I had been told several years ago that Newcastle was starting to bid our work and bid it very aggressively. And I see that tonight they're the low bidder on 2 projects. So that's good competition, and that's a good way to save money for Albany County taxpayers. So I personally am very glad to see it.
Yes, and you know what's interesting about it too, the next project is a similar project on Beaver Dam Road. And the second runner-up in the bid for both projects was Callanan. And for the size of the projects, Callanan bid only $21,000 more for the Knox Cave Road project. So very, very tight bids. The next in line was Louisi, and there was about a $200,000 difference between Louisi and the Callanan. So definitely good competition.
Great to see.
Yep.
Mr. O'Brien.
I'm going to have to abstain from this vote.
I'll say Mr. O'Brien's abstention is noted. Mr. Peter.
If there's no further questions, I'd like to make a motion on this, Mr. Chairman.
Motion from Mr.
Second.
Peter, second by Mr. Cleary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. And we know Mr. O'Brien's abstention. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item number 4, which is authorizing agreement with Newcastle Paving LLC for this time for CR 303 and 311.
Yes, the Department of Public Works is requesting the legislature's approval to enter into an agreement with Newcastle Paving LLC for the reconstruction of approximately 3.67 miles along Beaver Dam Road in an amount not to exceed $2.342 million. The project is much like Knox Cave. It includes rehabilitation of existing pavement, replacement of existing guide rail, existing roadway cross culverts, driveway culverts, and installation of roadway striping and signs.
Great. Any, Mr. Cleary?
There's no discussion. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
Motion
Mr.
by
Chairman.
Mr. Cleary, second by Mr. Peter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Mr. O'Brien, are you abstaining on this one as well, or just item number 3?
Yes, I'm abstaining on that one as well.
We'll note Mr. O'Brien's abstention. All right, our last item on the agenda is number 5, which authorizes the submission of a grant application to AARP regarding the 2021 Community Challenge Grant Program.
Yes, so that is being submitted by the County Executive's Office. Thank you, Chairman. This is Cameron Sagan here from the County Executive's Office.
Welcome.
This is the annual Community Challenge Grant Program from AARP. The grant that we're applying for is $15,000. That was selected by us. Every grant applicant has the choice of how much they're applying for. And this will be used towards an awareness campaign and signage along the rail trail to make it safer for biking, walking, etc. I know a lot of people on this meeting know that there's pedestrians and bikers, and a lot of complaints come in from the pedestrians that the bikers are moving too quickly, and enforcement becomes tricky. So we're trying to use public awareness, added signage to address the issue.
Great. Mr. Reinhardt.
I just want to say, as a person whose extended family uses the rail trail almost every day, my wife, my daughter, and now my son and my grandkids, what was just stated is absolutely true and very important. The issue of kids, especially the young ones, not necessarily staying in place when a bike approaches is real. And so I think the public awareness is really, really valuable. So I'm very, very supportive of this.
Thank you, legislator.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bergdorf.
I got a question for Cameron. Cameron, this just gives us permission to apply for the grant. Have we historically gotten an annual grant? Or what is our likelihood of success? Or I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Sure, absolutely. So we, and from the county executive's office and aging department, haven't applied for this grant. In past years, the art subcommittee of the Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy has applied for it. This year, we're partnering on this application because this project was going to be mutually beneficial for the county as well as art because we're going to be utilizing the services of local artists to create sort of mural signage combination. So this is going to be a joint effort between an organization that has already been awarded this grant in previous years. So I don't want to comment on the likelihood, but I think that increases our the possibility of us getting the grant.
Well, that's great and innovative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Peter.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other comments or questions, I would like to make a motion to move this.
Motion to move. Seconded by Mr. Cleary. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. All right, and that concludes our last item on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Sagan and Commissioner Remuda for joining. Mr. Reinhardt.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Lisa a question. I've noticed because of the pandemic that
one thing, do we actually have Commissioner Remuda still on the line? I think she may have dropped.
I don't see her.
Oh, all right. Okay, never mind.
If you want to submit the question for the record, we can have majority counsel reach out. If that
well, okay,
works.
yeah, I'll do it. And frankly, I just as soon have the members of the committee keep this in mind too. I've noticed that because of the pandemic, on a personal level, I've hardly driven at all using my own car for the last several months. I've only purchased gas like once or twice. And I'm just kind of curious if there are essentially cost savings that we can realize because of changed behavior in terms of how our departments have been operating, such as DPW. If, for example, we're not using anywhere near as much fuel to do things on a regular basis like we would normally, that also means that we have less mileage on our vehicles. It also could mean we don't need to replace vehicles as quickly, so we don't have to buy cars, let's say on a 5-year cycle. Maybe we can go to 6 years because essentially 1 year we didn't use a vehicle nearly as much. I wanted to ask Lisa, if she thought there were some potential efficiencies like that because of changed behavior during the last year. And that's something I guess all the members can think about it. I don't know for sure that there are any benefits there that we can achieve, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
Mr. Reinhardt, this is Luke Rogers from the County Executive's Office. I'm happy to relay that question to Lisa. I will say that while a lot of, I guess, consumer habits have changed, a lot of essential services continued.
Right.
And so it might not be quite the dramatic shift that some people may have experienced in their personal lives, but certainly could look into it.
Yeah, I realize that that's true. I mean, like roads still have to be plowed and things, but I did want to throw it out just because I thought there might be some opportunities.
Well, I think one of the things that's very valuable is that when we purchased gas and fuel for a long-term basis, that at least the county isn't experiencing the 25% increase in the cost of gasoline that residents are experiencing. I mean, I was out yesterday, and gas is close to $3 a gallon. So thank goodness that we have had the foresight to lock in our fuel and diesel prices for the year at the county.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Raimondo seems to have come back.
Yeah,
Yes.
I came back. I got word that there was a follow-up question. I apologize. I thought it was done.
I think Mr. Reinhardt's question, which if I can summarize, was, are there cost savings to realize from the lack of transit that's been going on during the pandemic, as you know, there are fewer cars on the road, and if there's a way to estimate this figure. Is that fair, Mr. Reinhardt?
Well, let me just add, Lisa, what I was thinking was observing my own personal behavior during the pandemic, where I wasn't going out as much. I wasn't using certain things like vehicles as much as, you know, I would normally. I was wondering whether, in terms of the public services the DPW does, and other departments, if we've changed our behavior. Obviously, Luke made a point that certain essential services we're going to keep doing regardless. But if there are changes in behavior of how we've done various operations, so that we don't need to, let's say, replace a vehicle on a 5-year cycle, because now we could maybe, you know, extend to 6 years because the wear and tear wasn't what it would have been in a normal year. Are there savings like that we can think about? You know, given the budget situation, we should be looking for savings like that, if anything like that is actually out there. So I was kind of throwing that out, thinking maybe DPW had some opportunities for that kind of thinking.
Right. So it's not something that I had on my radar to look at, just because so our winter operations, although you know, many people were working from home in other areas of the county, DPW folks were in just like we always were, and we still had to plow the roads just like we always would have. It's not like we decreased the amount of plowing that we did. It's always a response to the weather. And as far as our daily operations throughout like spring, summer, fall, although we got a bit of a late start on our roadway projects due to COVID, we still actually, you know, did our hauling and placing, and had to replace all of our culverts on those roads. So from a DPW fleet standpoint, I don't think that we did save anything other than just taking advantage of the lower fuel prices last year during the pandemic. But that said, we do have an electric vehicle for our courier. We have a hybrid vehicle. We're looking into the potential of getting a tree truck that is an electric vehicle. So we have electric on our minds. It's just a matter of, you know, where does that fit in with the technology and our need for heavy duty with most of our equipment.
Right. Well, that's somewhat of a different subject, but I'm glad to hear you mention it, because I do want to push you on that.
Okay.
And I will.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
All right. And it's not just me, believe me.
No, I'm sure. No, I know. Yep.
Outstanding. Well, point very well taken, Mr. Reinhardt. Thank you, Commissioner, for jumping back on to our call. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
By Mr. Peters, seconded by Mr. Bergdorf. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. And that concludes our meeting.